If you've been looking for a budget-friendly ultra-wide lens for vlogging purposes, for real estate photography, for astro work, for wide dramatic landscapes, or for general running around on a gimbal work, well, this new lens might be exactly what you are looking for. The biggest positive here is the price, which is a remarkable $189 US. As of the date of this video, it is on sale. Now, I remember just a few years ago that you couldn't even buy a below average manual focus lens for under $200 for your full frame camera. This lens has autofocus, it's compact, it's light, and optically it's pretty incredible. This is the new 14mm f4 from Viltrox, and it's the full frame version of the 9mm f2.8 APS-C lens. You can see here that these two lenses look identical. I would say that optically they're probably very similar on the inside as well, but this 14mm seems to be bending the rules of physics. I don't exactly know how Viltrox is doing this. Now, this video is sponsored by Viltrox, which means they are paying me to demonstrate this lens and talk about it. I am treating this just like a regular lens review, so I will show you the lens, I'll show you the results, I'll talk about all of the problems and the shortcomings, and I will hide nothing. Viltrox will not see this video before it goes live, and they have no say in what I say, so let's begin. Physically speaking, there is not much to talk about here. This new 14mm is part of the Viltrox Air series, so it has the exact same body as nearly 10 lenses at this point. Construction is plastic and glass. Weight is a very light 168 grams. Around the rear is a metal mount, electronics, a USB-C port for firmware updates, no weather sealing however, and the body of this lens is quite simple. All you get is a manual focus ring, which is electronic, it's smooth, it's well damped. Around the front there are a bunch of specs, 58mm front filter thread, minimum focus is 0.43 feet, and full frame. Inside there are 12 elements in 9 groups, and autofocus is handled by an STM or stepper autofocus motor. I took this lens out with my Sony a7C and I shot some photos. Let's take a look at those as I talk to you guys about the optical performance of this lens. All of these are JPEGs, unedited, straight out of my camera. Optically, what you get with this lens is sharpness wide open. The center of the frame is very sharp. Corners are less sharp, but not by much. This is a weird lens when it comes to sharpness because it's one of the first that I've tested that appears to be just as sharp at f4 as it does at f5.6. Look at this comparison. There's almost nothing different between these two images, even out into the corners, and even at f8, look at how sharp the f4 image looks. And this applies to the entire frame. Anywhere you look, this lens is remarkably good at f4. There is a lot of vignetting or dark corners with this lens when you shoot at f4, and this is also another weird thing. I didn't notice a very big improvement in vignetting when you stop down. Normally the corners brighten up, but in this case they nearly remain the same. In terms of lens distortion, you get a similar result as the APS-C 9mm f2.8 that Viltrox just released at the same time. I think both of these lenses are very close optically. You get the same wavy mustache line pattern, which is not easy to correct in post unfortunately, but it is slight, so it's not the most noticeable thing in photographs. I didn't correct for it in any of my samples, and unless you noticed it in those, it probably won't bother you. In terms of chromatic aberration, this lens has very good control of that. There is limited color fringing even when I was shooting to try to make it come out. There is a little bit of loca or longitudinal chromatic aberration, which is color fringing on out of focus high contrast areas. You'll notice it on bokeh highlights, but it's not very bad, probably due to the fact that it's hard to get any bokeh unless you are very close to your subject, and at an f4 maximum aperture there's not much light left to fringe. In terms of bokeh, I found it to be good overall, but it's also an interesting thing. You need to have a subject very close to the front of the lens. Fortunately, the minimum focus distance of 0.43 feet means you can get 1 to 2 inches from your subject and still get this lens to focus. With this shot in particular, you'll notice wide open at f4 you get this heptagon shape to the bokeh, which is a 7-sided shape. I had to look that up, and there is some artifacting in the middle. It's not the best looking bokeh, but if you are buying this ultra wide lens for bokeh, there are bigger problems to tackle. Flare performance is another weak point. There are some strong flare elements even with the lens hood attached, so this is something to consider if you want your ultra wide to suppress flares. This probably isn't the lens for you. Autofocus performance was great, no issues. It was fast, silent, and accurate. And I compared this 14mm to the 9mm, and it has no autofocus noise, whereas the 9mm has a slight mechanical noise. Both lenses have the same lead screw motor autofocus system, but the one on the 14mm just seems to be more silent. There is some focus breathing, as you might expect. Most ultra wides have this sort of thing. In general though, I found the images to be quite good. Sharp, colors are punchy, contrast contrast levels were great. It was an impressive performance, and that's not factoring in the price, which is a remarkable sub $200 US. This is probably the best real estate photography lens for the money today, easily the best value. It's also probably the smallest and the lightest lens that can give you a 14mm equivalent. And for those reasons, combined with the optical performance, I think this lens is going to be quite a popular one. Now, do you need an ultra-wide lens all the time? Probably not, unless you are vlogging all day, every day. But if you are traveling and you come across a scene that you want to capture the grandeur of, this little $200 lens will take up nearly no space in your bag and will weigh close to nothing and would be nice to have when you need it. Now, unfortunately, my first copy of this lens was an absolute dud. It didn't work at all, froze up on my A7C. Viltrox sent me a second one, and this one has been flawless. These are pre-production samples, so some of that can be expected, but it is something that I want to bring up because reliability is very important. If you buy one of these lenses, make sure that you test them with your camera, make sure that they function correctly so that any returns or exchanges can happen while you are still in that window. From what I've been reading with your guys' comments on previous videos, it seems that Viltrox support has been pretty good at remedying issues if they do come up. Ultimately, I think this is a very smart lens from Viltrox. It's a unique focal length that has fewer competitors, and it rounds out the Air series even more. It also has boggled my mind because between this 14mm and the 9mm for APS-C, I have no idea how they crammed all of that optically into such a small package. Making ultra-wide angle lenses is extremely challenging, and most ultra-wides are quite huge. This one seems to break all of the rules. But if you thought Viltrox was stopping here, you are wrong. I think that they have a lot more up their sleeve, and I'm excited to see what they come up with next. Maybe something more on the telephoto side, who knows. It's a fun time to be shooting mirrorless. As usual, if you guys are interested in reading more about this lens or picking one up, I will post some links down in the description and in the comments section. I'll try to find some discount codes and coupons codes for you so that you guys can save a little bit of dollars as well. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Stay tuned for more. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.